Today we're going to look at one of my favourite exercises for mobilising the feet, which is nicknamed shaking hands with the feet. So you start with one foot where you can reach it, and I'm sitting on the step on purpose because for a lot of us it's more comfortable to have something to lean your back into while you do this rather than sitting on the floor or even on a chair. And you're just going to get hold of your foot, so say it's your left foot, take your opposite hand, and we're just going to start to weave the fingers through the toes. So your index finger is going to go through the big toe and the second toe, and then your next finger goes through the second and third toe, and so on. And seeing if you can get a little bit of the finger through the toes, aiming to get the finger right down at the toe crease if possible. And just seeing with a bit of a wiggle how much the toes will go through. And at first it might feel like there's not much room, the toes aren't going through so much, it might not feel the most comfortable thing you've ever done. So just see if you can get a little bit of however much the finger through the toe, and just see where your point is. And we're not going to any point of pain, a little bit of discomfort because it's unfamiliar, maybe your toes don't normally do this, is kind of normal. And then once you feel like you've got your fingers through as much as feels possible and manageable, then just take your hand around the foot, take your other hand around the top of the foot there. So we just start to warm the foot up. You could slightly move the foot forwards and backwards, find some movement there. So we're just stretching and warming up all the tissues around that top half of the foot. By tissues I mean your muscles, your tendons, your ligaments, and getting them perhaps to move in ways they normally don't. If you think about the position of your feet in shoes, normally they're quite squashed together like that. So now we're just seeing if we can find a bit more space between the toes, which is how they're designed to be, because obviously then we have a broader base to support us and to find balance as well. So we're just gently warming those tissues up, moving backwards and forwards. A bit of warmth moving through the foot, and just getting the toes, the tops of the feet used to being a bit wider apart. Okay, then we'll see, after we've done that for a little while, is it possible to get the fingers through a bit more? You could even very gently pull your fingers through downwards towards the base of the toes. And then once you've explored whether there's a little bit more movement there, coming back to holding the foot, going forwards and backwards. So we're bending through the joint of where the toe meets the top of the foot, and also the joints in the top of the foot there. Going forwards and backwards. And then even circling the foot, so see if there's any circular movement you can find there. Maisie always likes to join in my videos. So gradually as we hold this, we're getting those toes used to being in a wider position, getting the tissues used to being moved in this way. I like to think of it, it's a bit like cold dough that you take out of the fridge, and then you start to knead it with your hands, which warms it up, and suddenly the dough becomes more pliable and you can move it into the shapes you want. So that's kind of what we're doing with our foot. So one more thing we can do here is to straighten the fingers and then pull them apart. So we're now getting more stretch through the toes, and then squeeze back in, squeeze the toes together, straighten your fingers, widen the fingers apart, which will widen your toes apart. Squeeze back in and widen. And it doesn't matter if the fingers aren't completely all the way through, even just a little bit through will give you the ability to do this. Okay, and then the last thing to do, which can be really nice, is a little bit of a massage of the foot, again, to get those tissues moving a bit more. So if you take your thumb of the hand on the same side as the leg, so I'm using my left leg first, I'm going to use my left thumb to go in the sole of the foot, and then my fingers, we're going to find the ridge between the big toe and the second toe, the ridge between the bones there. And then as I push my thumb the sole of the foot and upwards in just different places on the bottom of the foot, I'm also kind of letting my fingers find that ridge and press in a bit. So we're just, that tight bit at the top of the foot gets some movement as well. And just letting the sole of the foot find some warmth and the tissues there warm up as well. Okay, and then spreading the fingers for the last time, pulling them out of the foot. And then before you swap sides, just have a look at your feet, spread them down. The first thing I noticed is that my feet are now completely different colours. So the foot that I've worked on, I can see that there's a lot more blood flow going to that foot now. It feels like the foot's much warmer and the toes are spreading more readily than on the other foot. So just noticing that, and then I'm just lifting my toes up and down and just seeing how they feel different. There definitely feels to be more looseness, if you like, and movement in the foot that I've worked on. Okay, so then we'll go to the second side. I'll talk you through again. Take the opposite hand to that foot, and then we take the index finger between the big toe and the second toe, the next finger between the second and third toe, and then just weaving the fingers through the toes so you can get a little bit of contact. And then we're just guiding the fingers down to the base, the crease, right at the bottom of the toes. And as much connection and pulling through the fingers as you can find there. And then hold your foot with your hand, take the other hand on top and start to feel that warming up happening into all the tissues of your foot. You just hold there for a little bit, and you can do this for longer than I'm doing. Once you get used to this, it's a lovely thing to do every day before you go for a walk or do some movement, and just get your feet really ready to be as responsive as possible. Okay, and then I'm just going to start to move forwards and backwards, get the bones moving, get those muscles moving, starting to warm up, finding a little bit more pliability. And then once I've got used to that feeling, so you're just letting your feet get used to this wider toe feeling, which again is, it's not always the most comfortable. So go slowly, take your time, be gentle, make sure it feels manageable, and then see if you can get a little bit more of the fingers through. So you could even just very gently use your other hand to pull the fingers through to the base of the toes. And then finding movement again, whether that's forwards and backwards or circling. It could be side to side, so any movement you can find with your toes in that wider position. Okay, and then we're going to do the widening the fingers, which widens the toes at the same time, and squeezing in. Widening, squeezing in. And you might notice a difference between the first foot. You might notice where it feels more comfortable, perhaps the littlest toe, in my case, is a little bit less comfortable to widen. Okay, and then ending with a little bit of a massage. So my fingers are going to find that ridge between the big toe and the second toe. Thumb is in the base of the foot, and I'm just going to massage along the base of the foot with my thumb. Fingers are moving around on the top of the foot. And this isn't very expert, but for the purpose of this video, you don't really need to be expert in massage. Just using your hands to feel and move the tissues around. You can find different spots on the sole of your foot that feel good to kind of move around a bit, apply some pressure to. Okay, and then widening your fingers again, pulling them out. Give your toes a wiggle, have a look at both feet, wiggle the toes around, how does it feel now? And then you're good to go. So you might like to try shaking hands with your feet every day for a week. And it's a nice thing to do before you do your movement to warm up your feet, get them ready, and see how that goes, whether you notice any difference in your feet after a week. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the subscribe button and you'll get my next upcoming videos to your inbox. If you have any questions or comments, please feel free to leave them in the comments section and I'll get back to you. Thanks very much.